There you
Do we
go.
do it in the cloud or do we do it?
Now that I don't know how he does it, but I know it's recording now. I see.
Okay, all right.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, King.
No, I'm glad.
No. That's important. That's important. You can do it either one on your hard drive or to the cloud. But if you have, do you know how to access that cloud?
No, he ain't tell me all that shit.
Okay, no, really, just do it to your hard drive, then.
All right.
And then you can get it out of there later.
All right.
But no, I wasn't even aware of the term plutocracy or plutocrat. Highest I'd ever gone was aristocrat. You know, everybody knew about that. You know, even from the Disney movie. But once I heard the term, and then I looked it up in the dictionary. No, actually, I looked it up online, and I said, "Oh, that's a video on this thing." And at that time, they only had volume 1. They may have had volume 2. But no, they only had volume 1, and I'm amazed. I didn't even pay attention to the hits that it had, you know, like you two guys did. But because I started playing it right off of my reserved disc image. But pimp, what's that definition you gave a week or so? Psychotic
influencers and
manipulator of people. Come on.
Pimp.
Come on. These are some pimps, man.
Yeah.
These are some worldwide pimps. I mean, everything fits right back. You know, I can't recap too far because I'll be just overlapping with Brother Naru just expounded on. But you know, once I saw it, you know, like I said, I never really got in depth with it. What I would do, I would play it some, go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, it's over the years that I've had it. You know, as I say, maybe it'll hit into my psyche. You know, some way while I'm going to sleep, I remember some of it. It don't work that way a lot of times, you know. But it would wake me up at points over the time that I've had it. But doing it like this, I mean, to catch every little detail and this, that, and other. And then like you say, I got, you know, I mean, even though I've watched it numerous of times, you know, because it has part 2, 3, and 4, man, I mean, the power and the extent that these people will go through.
Yes, sir.
For control.
Yes, sir.
Is astounding. And for as many people not to be, you know, I mean, the curtain which they operate from behind, now that's the thing, because they got people so bamboozled, and my mind keep alluding back to Bob Marley, Concrete Jungle.
Yes, sir.
You know, they keep us so, you know, against each other, trying to make trying to make another day, you know, like the song in Friday, trying to make another day, you know. Yeah. I mean, get so in that rat race, that's the main thing. They keep us so hung up in the rat race. That's the song I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Man, we don't even stop to think. And then when you tap somebody and say, hey, have you considered the powers that be? Oh, God got everything.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, it's such a shroud and such a platform that they operate from. The control is mighty, divided and conquered. That's about as much as I can put on that, because I don't want to, like I say, just keep hashing over what Brother Naru said, because everything from the workforce.
I wasn't recorded, so go ahead.
Okay. No, I mean, you know, just knowing that, you know, in the beginning, you know, when whites even, you know, started really originally forming unions, you know, there was togetherness that they realized, no, we got to throw this race thing out. We need them. They understood that. And the powers that be came in and figured out a way to insert, no, they keeping you away from your money, you know. And how they did that, when you sitting there in the same room working for the same cause, you know. The relationship, and what astounds me, we think the Germans, you know, we think of Germans because of Hitler and all of the stuff that he did to eradicate a whole ethnicity of people. But the way they brought this division between the Irish and the blacks, who were on one accord getting treated like dogs, one and the same, and the Irish getting treated worse. You know, like Brother Naru said, you know, they throw them to the wolves and let them work because we were a monetary commodity that they couldn't afford to just waste over. You know,
we're gonna talk about which one is really treated worse, but I'm glad you referenced
well,
it.
you know, yeah. I mean, as far as I'm gonna throw you to the working force out there. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, because I'm pretty sure there's some dead bones in those fields out there that they never even bothered to pick up.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean, it's
because this is a very important. This is a very important discussion point.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, Ken, once you finish, right quick, Naru, I do want you to go back before I go to Lloyd and restate your point since we weren't recorded. I want you to restate that for the recording. Okay, Brother Ken, go on and finish up.
Right. No, but it was just the fact how they manipulated and bamboozled that whole relationship. And when you look at it, some of our worst headbangers are Irish.
Yeah.
You know, and that's sad, you know, because, you know, when you look at how Frederick Douglass went all the way to Ireland to support them in the potato famine.
Yeah.
You know, that was a bond there, you know, and they sent money to help him become free, you know, during his endeavor. So it's amazing the length and extent that these people will go through to stay in power, and you can relate that and draw a line right up
to now,
to today.
Exactly.
It's so prevalent, but I at that point, you know, I just reserve time for the rest.
All right, good go. Now, Rue, I need you to state your summation again because it was profound, but it wasn't recorded. Good go.
Without a doubt, I'll try to capture what I said before. I know that I was saying in the beginning, my summation was that those in power view the working class as nothing more than a means to achieve their goals.
Yeah.
And they would go to any extent possible to achieve those goals. And some of the tactics they use, as I was talking about, they were using division of race. They were pitting, like Brother King was saying, they were pitting the Irish against the blacks. And they would also use, when they tried to strike, they would use tactics of killing people, being in the police, the National Guard, and also private security, most famously the Pinkertons. We've all, probably heard about them and seen them in the movies and all of that type of stuff. Didn't know that they were attacking their own. I also felt like, man, if they do this to their own, who they, or maybe they don't even consider them their own. I don't even know if they look at race the way we do.
Exactly.
They don't. I don't even believe they look at race. In fact, they use that as a divisive tactic. They view everybody under them as inferior.
Yeah.
And something to be used, a tool,
that's right,
almost to be used just to get what they need. And like I was saying earlier, like the one of the most profound things to me, and I knew that they viewed Black people as capital.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that why you would see, never see Black people working in these coal mines and things.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was because, it was a job and you got paid, but that wasn't it at all.
Yeah.
It was the Black people were more valuable in those fields and in their homes, because the Irish, who they call the white niggers, couldn't work in those fields.
Yeah.
And so they used them in those coal mines. And I mean, the death rate for workers. And then I didn't even touch on it before, but the child labor. They had children out there. They had a point in there where these children were going through these rocks and all their fingernails were torn off. I mean, they didn't have, I'm like, how cruel do you have to be? And then in the opening part, I forgot about this, where they had all those white people pushed into those little boxes, like where they were staying, man. The first visual that I saw, I was like, what in the hell is this going on here? That's where they was living. And they could kill you if you tried to leave the job.
Come on.
If you sign the contract, they could kill you before you if you didn't finish that contract. You can just walk away.
Come on.
From the job, brother. And then when they started to, to unionize, and I'm talking about thousands of people getting together, man, they did everything they could to break those unions up. And like I said, they own the police.
That's right.
And you saw that they also own the National Guard. So you saw that the corporations were the ones really running the government. If you can bring in the National Guard, but you're not really the federal government, well, then actually you are the federal government.
Exactly.
If you can bring in that National Guard to kill these people, man. It wasn't an easy.
I guess never kind of. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Some kind of way we're frozen. Some kind of way we are frozen.
Really realize the mechanisms that we got to create to combat this type of things. And think about this: if they was doing this back then, having infiltrators, agents, and all type of sophisticated, because it just speaks to the volumes of corporations and things that they put in place and systems to hold us back and take over the system. Like I say, even the founding fathers, they didn't know exactly what they was doing. They seen it going in a bad way, so they seen it being this. And again, it is what they feared of corporations owning a lot of the structures and the things that we do as government. So but that's about it.
You muted, Craig.
You muted.
Brother Craig, you muted.
My bad.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, Tyro. You got anything? Tara, you got anything? Okay, she don't have anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I don't have anything.
Okay. All right. All of you all gave great overviews. So we're going to get into this. And like Ken said, what we do, Naru and Lloyd, every year for our CC Antoine Black History Celebration, we'll do a film festival, and we have straight up, knockout, full deal discussion about the films. And so we've been doing this for several years because it's important to understand, as Steve Coakley said before he died, created be blessings upon his spirit and soul. He said, to get to know the architects and engineers of capitalistic white supremacy racism, you got to look at their films, especially their epic films, because they're so arrogant that they'll tell the truth in their films. Well, that also goes into documentaries. And this documentary is put out by white folks because they're the vast majority of white folks, we're talking 99%, 98, 99% are not a part of plutocracy. They're not oligarchs and they're not aristocrats. They're grassroots people, whether they understand it or not. And there's some enlightened white folks who are enlightened grassroots people, Brother Naru, that the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense tried to collaborate with. So you do have some revolutionaries out there who look like white folks. John Brown is indicative of that. So you do have some gangster white folks out there. And so they're the ones who put this video out. The reason that I pointed to the views on YouTube, and you all can go back and see it yourself. Only this thing has been out for years. This documentary has been out for years. And so the vast majority of people, even if they knew about this, they're not gonna look at it because there's no, action in it or anything on that level. And so they would turn it off after a minute. But when you get into the context of this, now you're going to understand what the Matrix is all about. You say, well, what does this have to do with the Matrix? Well, goddamn, the number one thing that this is based on is oppression through labor. And I sat back and I thought about this years ago because all the white folks have done is taken what our people were doing in Africa and they've taken it to a whole nother level. So the original exploitation of labor came from our so-called plutocrats who were the shot callers on the continent. This is just fact. So I started thinking, I said, now, how did this shit start in Africa? And I started thinking, I said, I got it. So it's like me, Naru, Ken, Lloyd, Tyra. We got this insight. We trying to constantly, every day, think how we can improve the village, how we can get better water quality, better plumbing, all this kind of shit, and make everybody's life better. Well, guess what? Every day we still gotta go get water. We still gotta do the same damn chores that just the regular people are doing as well. But what are they doing with the bulk of their time? They running around, having fun, having sex, bullshitting. And we up here thinking, we looking at astrology and shit, but we still gotta do these menial labor tasks. You feel me? We still gotta do the same goddamn things. So I'm telling you that my premise is this. Some of our brilliant ancestors who lost their way spiritually, started thinking, who the hell do they think they are? Shit, why we gotta do the shit that they gotta do? Take out the trash and, go to the outhouse and shit. And we up here thinking about the cosmos and biology and said, we ain't gonna do this shit. We gonna get their ass to do it. And I'm telling you, they went to figure out a way of manipulating the strongest of the individuals in the village to oppress, gain leverage so that they could implement their philosophy of how they saw the village. That's how this shit started. I'm telling you, that's how this shit started. And it grew. And then you see emphasis of it in Kemet, Egypt, and throughout the globe, where there's an elitist hierarchy that now comes into power and they remain in power, and then they use everybody else to do the deeds. And that's where we at the Black Gold Nation got to really understand the focus of this so that we don't repeat those things. And we'll get into the discussion, but I wanted to just give that intro segment as my summation for the whole thing. Now, did you all notice how long the intro for the film was?
Yeah. I thought it was the film.
And
then, like, wow. Yes.
That's what Tyro said. Tyro said, goddamn, now they about to get into the film. Look, man, that's an 18-minute, just off the chain intro. They came in and they started, look at where they start. They started in the early 19th century and then started going back because they wanted to show you after the Civil War after chattel slavery, all of them white folks that was in America, this is what their ass was gonna get. You were gonna become slaves too, goddamn it. You was gonna be a part of the process as well. But the intro was 18 minutes long. So that's very important. The first big thing that I want to point out that the film brought out, after chattel slavery and the Civil War, corporations control what? What do they control? Every day.
All the industry.
And what else?
You mean like in okay?
What else, kid?
No, you mean like in the mining towns? They control everything.
Everything.
The judges, the sheriff.
Okay, that's the infrastructure.
Stores.
That's the public policy. But what else do they control in the lives of people every day?
Well, they control the lawyers, the doctors. They control the store where they got their goods.
They control the housing, the food,
everything.
The public schools.
They taught them everything. Well, yeah, they were raising everything. They controlled every aspect in a society, everything.
So if the corporations are controlling not only the labor, but every aspect of the laborer's existence, how feasible would it be for labor to now reject the corporation?
You had no choice.
You had no choice.
Yeah.
And if you rejected it, what happened?
Well, like Brother Law said, they kick you out of your house, or you'd be homeless, or had the right to kill you contractually. And
that ended up creating in the film, in the first few minutes, tent colonies.
Yeah.
Today we would call those people what? Homeless.
Homeless, yes. Sir.
Don't you see tent colonies out there in Oakland?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Brother Naru?
Brother, you wouldn't even can't even imagine how much we got out here, man.
Hey, bro. That shit in San Francisco and Oakland is serious, man.
It's crazy, bro.
It's crazy.
I mean, we've got stretches that go for almost a mile out here.
Okay.
Under freeways.
So, Lord and Tyra, what do y'all see in Houston, Texas?
I mean, in Houston, you always gonna have a healthy flow of homeless. But one thing they start doing is they start contracting these homeless and different people that pick these people up that make it look like there's not so many on the street, and they take them to different facilities. Who knows what else is going on? So, yeah,
it's gangster. But I thought Houston and Oakland and San Francisco had great economies. Why are there homeless people? Look, man.
Bro, the cost of living is so expensive out here, brother. You think all the homeless people don't have jobs? We got people living in their cars and in these tents who have jobs.
Exactly. But this game of capitalism is so gangster that there's no way, and I always say this, if you're not rolling on a spiritual and right cultural level, there is no way you'll figure this out. Because there's too many levels to this shit. It's way too many levels to this shit. So after chattel slavery, okay, which was predicated on us, but now we're gonna find, as you just talked about with the Irish, they played a role in helping to industrialize the country through the coal mines. But after the main industries were structured, because initially we were in an agrarian economy, meaning farmers and those type of artisans. After chattel slavery, it was all, and this is where we're at now, industrial slavery. And industrial slavery, the corporations are calling all the shots and creating the illusion that you have a fair and balanced system through the politics, governmental politics at the local, state, federal, national, international level, but there is no fairness. But it is all based on the the oppression of the minds of the masses of people, regardless of ethnicity. And this is why the grassroots people, what we're doing with BGN is so important, because who is the beacon of light the only beacon of light that can get this shit back in a balanced fashion? Who is the only entity who can bring this shit back into light?
The people, the original people, brother.
Exactly. See, the planet is out of balance because the descendants of the originals are out of balance. Every other ethnic group has to follow our goddamn format. And so that's why the whole game is to steal the mind of us, because in the mind, you get the ideas, the intellectual capacity, and now they implement that. And so now they recruit within each ethnic group to create micro plutocrats, micro oligarchs, and micro aristocrats in each ethnic group that feeds into the macro plutocrats, oligarchs, and aristocracy. It's a gangster ass game, bro. And if you're not spiritually and culturally connected, first, you can't even detoxify the indoctrination that got you fucked up. You can't even get it out your goddamn mind. Ken said it best. Jesus is gonna come save us. Jesus got it. But they created Jesus.
Yes,
So you can't even escape the overall dynamic of what's going on. So now we're in this period of industrial slavery. Do you remember in the film, they brought out the term scabs? And so now they tell you what the term, the first time I heard this term scabs was in the 80s, and it was the NFL. They had gone on strike.
yeah.
And you know, we wanted to see goddamn football, and the NFL players were doing what? They were striking. For better pay, better conditions. And what did they bring in to break the goddamn strike line?
They brought in the scabs.
The people
replacement players. Yeah.
Okay. And so now that created what between the NFL players and the people who do they call scabs? What did that create?
Well, that created tension and division.
Exactly.
But it also created tension and division between us people who wanted to see it, because we started viewing the NFL players as greedy.
Exactly.
And they pitted them against us as well. You know, they shaped them as, oh, they greedy. They they making these millions, but in actuality, these other folks got billions.
Bruh, that's a great point. And so who inevitably, like right now that's going on in the NBA, you got all these Negroes mad at one player because he's gaining equity for not only himself and his team, but all players. Who is the player that all these Negroes are mad at?
Well, they shouldn't be mad, but it must be LeBron James.
Exactly.
And he ain't my favorite player because I'm from Oakland, so I can't never love him. But I respect him to the highest, brother. The highest. What he did has never been done.
Ain't never been done.
Never been done. Brought those brothers in, and they hated on them so bad. The brother Rich Paul, they tried to set up laws so that people couldn't be agents without a degree. You don't need no damn degree to be no agent.
Come on,
they trying to stop that. He's so powerful, brother. He's such a powerful, and I hope they don't go after the brother, man. I love him as a human being and what he's doing, brother. He's changed the game, brother.
And if people. And this is why I got in one of my friends' ass. I say, fool, this ain't about no goddamn basketball.
Exactly.
This is about the corporatization of America, fool. And LeBron James is showing you that there's a way that you can gain equity in this game. And if you look at the LeBron James model, because he got a team, you look at the LeBron James model, we can implement that in any industry, in Lloyd Ford's industry of hair care, in my industry of food and beverage, in Ken's industry, in the fashion design industry, and in the music industry, in your industry, Naruf, in the music, in Tyro's industry of the pharmaceutical, right? But you gotta have a goddamn team. And your team has to know the complete workings of the system. You have to be able to know how it is constructed. You have to deconstruct it in order to reconstruct an equity stake in the game. And if you can't do that, you really ought to just kill your goddamn self. because all you're doing is buying up time. Because this is so complex that you ain't gonna be able to figure it out. And you're right, Brother Naru. When they see that you are a real threat, they start to now create public policy to try to now go after you. And Rich Paul and the other one, Maverick Carter. Look here, bro. Look here, bro. Look here, bro. Bro, those dudes that's so gangster with their game, it's unreal. And I applaud them. I don't need people to, consider LeBron the greatest. I do, but that's neither here nor there. I'm talking about the business. Michael Jordan ain't never did it. Magic ain't never did it. Ali ain't never did it. Bill Russell, none of them. This boy here, this young brother, LeBron James, hey, bro, that dude is on a whole nother level, and it directly connects to plutocracy so that we can understand.
I want to just say real quick that a lot of the cats that get the money, they bring their friends on. It's not uncommon to bring your friends on, but they bring them on and just give them job, but they don't make them work. They don't make them learn.
Right.
What brother LeBron James said, yeah, I'll give you this, but you're gonna have to learn this industry. You're gonna have to learn these certain job that I need. And I can relate because I that's what I do in my business. I help brothers out. I've sent people to school and have them come back. Okay, I want you to go learn how to do these graphics. I need you to learn how to shoot these videos.
Yeah.
I need you to learn how to engineer. And then we come together as a team. And that's how my team was built, brother. I'm like, I've realized a long time ago, I can't do all this by myself. Exactly. I was doing everything and I was about to kill myself pretty much. So you find people that have a passion, and it takes a lot to be able to identify what those people need or are good at. It's a skill, or maybe even born with it. I know I have that skill. I can see somebody and talk to them like, no, this you good at this. Go handle that. Don't worry about all this other stuff. Handle this. That's what he did. He compartmentalized each individual and brought them together, and they're all stronger together.
Exactly.
And brilliant for that, brother. Brilliant.
And do you know let me see if you and Ken can get this answer. What is the one guy now who is revolutionizing and doing that in the music game?
Well, I don't know. I'm looking at Ice Cube from what he's doing on a whole nother level. I don't know if it's musically, but because I'm looking at him the way he started that the 3-on-3 thing, started his own league.
True.
I got respect for him, but that might not be who you're talking about, though.
Just specifically in the music game.
I got a cheat sheet on that.
Yeah.
We discussed that, brother. I can't remember how you pronounce his name.
Kobe and Whitney.
The brother, right.
Bruh.
Yes.
Hey, bro.
Solid team.
Hey, bro.
Solid team.
You go and see what this dude is doing. It is exactly based on the LeBron James model.
Break it down, because I've seen the videos and the music, but I don't know much about the business aspect.
His wife, who is in each video, is the choreographer.
Okay, right.
His cousin, who is in each video, is the producer.
Yeah.
His squad, they bring out a new song and video every week. Just like you talk about the videography, he got a teammate, and they are brilliant with that camera. And they're bringing out they got choreography. They got the dude, pretty much, I can tell you right now, the greatest rap artist in ever. I mean, because that dude is blessed beyond comprehension. But and I hope And I told my cousin who used to mentor him and his best friend in Houston, because he's from Houston by way of Nigeria, I hope he understands the seriousness of his position, because in that music game, music entertainment, just like LeBron is in sports entertainment, when you're making that kind of an impact, they will kill your ass.
Oh yeah.
And see, music more so than sports. Music more so than sports. Because music, as you just saw with James Harden, here this dude is willing to risk a $200 million contract in order to go hang out with rap artists. So the music actually permeates the world even more than sports, because music is the universal goddamn component. Brother, and so what Toby and Wigway is doing right now, shit. I mean, that brother is brilliant. And he got Eric Thomas, the stimulation speaker, so-called motivational speaker. They're all on the same team together. And hey man, I ain't gonna lie to you, that dude is making some moves. But getting back to the film, which all of this deals with the film, the big thing that I want us to focus on is the fact that the truth about capitalism, that it is not only about race, it is also about gender, it is also about class, but the number one thing that this system is about is labor. And so we are constantly in a perpetual labor war. And that's why when I define capitalism, I let people know this is an evil system that is predicated on the creation, maintenance, and expansion of a permanent underclass. Yeah. Okay? And in each time, just in the first 18 minutes of the film, in each time that the white laborers sought to elevate, and they were willing to fight, they were willing to die. And each time that they got into their militia groups and the plutocrats hired the detective agencies, the first one that was mentioned was the Baldwin Phelps Detective Agency. But each time that they would stand up to them, what would end up happening? The federal government would send in who?
National Guard.
Troops, the National Guard. And that was going to squash all of the bullshit, right? So that's why when people talk about taking up arms against the United States, it's so foolish, it makes no sense. And we're talking about this is back in the early 20th century, late 19th century, and they were willing to do this to their own people. They were willing to attack them with airplanes. Now you find out it wasn't just Tulsa, Oklahoma, that they used airplanes to attack civilians in the United States. They will do this to their own people. What the hell what do you think they're gonna do to us? That don't mean that we don't mobilize, organize, band together to maneuver, but you gotta know these things so that you're not idealistically coming out here trying to attack this system. So they declared martial law in each time. Now,
even bro, back during the colonial times, when the farmers rose up.
Yeah.
They put the troops on. They put the troops on their heads. They didn't have an organized what we call it,
army,
federal troop. Yeah. So they made one real quick, a militia, and came and put them cats down. And them cats felt they were being exploited.
Exactly.
Because it was always stated, that that the Constitution was written primarily by property men.
Exactly.
So when you talked about the homelessness, hey, I'd rather put your butt out there in a tent, if I can't use you, and then scrape from the rest, so to keep this machine going. But way back in the colonial times, they did it to themselves.
So Ken, let me ask you this question. I'm gonna ask you this question because I'm glad you brought it up. Why? Because the militia that they got came from the grassroots, right? So these guys knew what was going on with the majority of the other grassroots, right?
You would think so.
They knew everybody was being oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
So what did the plutocrats know about a certain percentage of the grassroots people who were going through the same struggle? Answer that question.
They'll sell your ass out. They'll sell your ass out to get a better life. Everybody's fighting for a better life.
But why?
Why would they sell you out?
Yeah. And I'm gonna give you a hint.
That's what I got. They wanted a better life. They wanted.
All right.
And
so what does that get to? What is that? You're right in the ballpark. What does that get to?
An illusion of inclusion.
One more thing. Self-preservation.
Oh yeah.
The first law of nature is self-preservation.
Yes, sir.
But see, if you don't have any ethics and morality, your self-preservation is going to be I, my, me. If you got ethics and morality, your self-preservation, though you're an individual, you're going to be a part of a group. Mm-hmm. So you're going to say individually, it is us, I, we. Mm-hmm. See, there is nothing that I'm going to ever do. I would never take any money to oppress Naru or Brother Ken, or Sister Tara, or Sister Lord, or anybody, period. Even if they're not a member of the BGN or any other organization I'm affiliated with. I just don't roll that way. But the plutocrats know what? It's only a few of us that roll like that. The vast majority of people out here are I, my, me folks because they don't know how to think. And so they only see that this system is this way. And since there ain't no other system, it can't possibly be another way. I'm going to now compromise myself in order to go against my fellow brothers. That's a gangster. So the plutocrats are specialists in psychology and sociology. They understand human behavior. And if you don't understand human behavior, if you really believe that the majority of these people out here really will stand up and sacrifice their life for a principle of right versus wrong, you're gonna be the number one person deceived in this game. It happened to Malcolm, it happened to Marcus, it happened to King, it has happened to all of them. And we have to be understanding of that reality. So here's the next question. Where does the term rednecks come from? It was brought out in the first 18 minutes of the film.
Yeah, I got that one. The miners wore the little red bandanas on their necks, and I never knew that one. I was like, that's an interesting one too.
Yeah,
to identify themselves, and that's where the term came from.
So it ain't even got nothing to do with you being a hillbilly.
Nothing.
Right. These were striking workers, striking miners in the east, on the East Coast, West Virginia area, and they were striking for better wages, better working conditions, and shit. They clicked up. They said we about that life. We ready to die for this, and we're gonna identify ourselves with these red bandanas, and therefore
the original Bloods.
The original goddamn blood. The original blood.
Wow.
Hey, that'll be a hell of a book. Hey, Ken, that'll be a hell of a book title or a hell of a documentary, The Original Bloods.
Yeah, that was
Original
cold.
Bloods.
So all of that was in the first 18 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
So now we get into the next segment. They talked about, and now they go back. Now they go back to the beginning of the corporation after the Revolutionary War. And so they start with 1786. And so now there's a lot of strategic planning and jockeying going on. So now they are trying to figure out how they're gonna put all these factions together and synergize this. The most profound statement came from brother John, a white boy by the name of John Jay. He was the Supreme Court Chief Justice at that time. Look at what he says, Brother Ken. Those who own the country should govern the country. Which gets to your property rights point that you just made. Those who own the country should govern the country. So now we get into property rights and, well, goddamn, if you ain't got no property, what are they saying, Brother Kid?
You're just a pawn. You got to be used. You don't have no rights. Period.
Okay. So all these people out here demanding shit. If you can't produce, if you can't show no damn end of the year tax receipt. Now, this is what they started back in 1786. So if they saying this shit in 1786, that if you don't own property, you can't have no say so, what do you think is going on in the 21st century? The people who own the property and pay the taxes, property tax, they saying the hell with y'all. Because your public school systems throughout America are all supported by what? Property tax.
Property tax. But as you stated before, even the premise of owning property ain't real.
Exactly.
You don't really own shit.
Exactly.
As soon as you don't pay them that insurance or you don't pay that property tax, they pull your ass up out there. You think you own something.
Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
That's the veil that a lot of people don't see.
That you are absolutely correct, brother. So now we got to deal with a lot of things that's illusionary in America that most people have yet to tap into. This segment of the film, and I know I'm going to go back and watch this probably 5 times this week. This was being narrated by the white old historian, the white male. And I'm talking about, he breaks this thing down, bruh. He breaks this thing down so succinctly that it's unreal. But he brought out a very important point. He said in 1786, when they got ready to do all of these things, there was no central government at that time. Okay? So now we're gonna really understand where the term and the concept of the United States of America comes from. Because at that time in 1786, there was no central government in the United States. So this is before the Articles of Confederation. And so he referenced the fact that when they came to this convention in Philadelphia, they were just supposed to be revising the Articles of Confederation. But look at what he said. He said they threw that shit out the window. Because we got to now get to the, look, in wrestling, they'll call it the brass knuckle death match.
Okay.
And so they got into the brass knuckle death match. And what was the number one thing that was on the table when they threw the Articles of Confederation out? What was the number one thing that was being considered at this point in time in order to shape this new corporation called the United States of America? What was it?
I'm not sure if there's one you're looking for, but I know one of the heights that I caught was the abolishment of slavery.
Okay, but there's something attached. But this is before slavery was abolished. This because you're talking 1865. Then
No,
we're
I'm
now
talking
at
about
1787.
they discussed it.
Oh, they did. They did.
Yeah.
That was thrown out the window.
Yeah, they put a 20-year thing on the
exactly.
trade.
There you go.
But they didn't throw the slavery out.
There you go. So what succinct thing that still was connected to slavery was the hot item that was being discussed?
Are you talking about the property? Who should own
the value of the African descendant?
Okay.
As it relates to what? Political power.
Mm-hmm.
The South wanted all of us to be included as a full person.
Right.
The North said, hell no, they in slavery. If we were to do that, y'all ass would be in power.
Mm-hmm.
So that began this great negotiation that culminated into what do we know today? It's called
Three-fifth compromise.
The three-fifth compromise. This is some gangster ass shit.
What I couldn't understand
about the voting, you know, they was making people vote the way they wanted them to vote anyway.
Exactly, but see, this was a battle between whites and whites.
Yeah.
Elitist whites, the plutocrats of the North, and the plutocrats of the South. So the plutocrats of the North is like, hey man, we're not gonna give you all just straight up leverage simply because you want us to. We got to negotiate this. But Ken, you had a point?
Now the cloud on me at that point is, why count us if we don't have any kind of voice anyway?
Now, Ken, you had to count us because there were more whites in the North than in the South.
Right.
So the whites would, in the North, the plutocrats would have got more power. So now in the South, the whites in the South needed to count our ancestors so that they could have the value of power.
Okay.
So even though we were in slavery, go back to Naru's earlier point about our value in terms of working in the fields versus the Irish. So we had value as it relates to our labor,
right?
And then we had value just based on our mere physical presence.
Right.
Our mere physical presence in the new game would have counted as a goddamn vote.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at, the vote.
So
right.
That's what the point I'm saying. Because I mean, because I couldn't picture us in slavery actually going up there, you know, putting a little ballot in.
Oh no.
Oh no. The whoever owned the slave.
There you go.
Vote. All of the three people on the land, they got to take their vote and vote for. That's what I was talking about.
I'm sure that's what happened. But that's what I'm saying. The cloud came and saying, because damn, they gave us a figment of a vote. You know,
for the slave owner, for the slave.
Right. I'm sure.
Slave owners got their vote.
So the population on his plantation, you know, he got points for that. You might say.
So if he had 5,000, if he had 5,000 slaves, if he had 5,000 slaves, one vote would have counted 5,001 times.
Exactly. No. It would have only been 3/5 for the slave.
No, I'm saying that's what the Southerners wanted.
Oh, they wanted that. Right.
And so that's where the Northern plutocrats were like, hell.
No.
Yeah.
Too many of y'all.
Too many of y'all. So that's what began the compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And they got, so the South said 100%. The North said 50% or 30%. And then the South said 90%. Then the North said 40%. Then the South said 70%. Then the North said 50%. And they finally agreed on 60%. which is 3/5.
3/5.
Now, many people incorrectly say 3/5 of a human is person, not human, because we were already devalued as a human. The word person is a legal term because the United States is a person. Any corporation is a person. So when they're talking about person in the Constitution, they're talking about shareholders. So we were never viewed to be a full shareholder in the United States corporation that was being created in 1787. Does that make sense?
That makes much sense.
So we were considered to be 3/5 of a person, and now it took 1.5 Negroes.
Sad. Sad.
Man, that's gangster, man. Whoa. That's gangster. It took 2 Negroes to make one. Hey, man, that's gangster, dog. I ain't gonna lie to you. I gotta give it up to him. So, but I want y'all to go check out that 3/5, bro, because that's what this whole thing is rooted in within the mindset of these folks. He brought out the 2 principal architects that we really need to study, Alexander Hamilton and James Madison. And he referenced the Federalist Papers, that they wrote these things. And so these were concepts, intellectual property that they promoted as they rocked and rolled. So one other part he brought out was the class struggle. And I made a note to say, for us, it's a class struggle combined with a race struggle. See, for white folks, it's a class struggle. For us, it's both. And then you also have gender. So white supremacy, racism, when I say it's not one-dimensional, it's multidimensional, that's what I'm talking about. Race, class, gender, age, they fuck you up across the board. And you got to be able to know this. Now, since Ken and I, Brother Naru, and probably your ass too, you probably ain't did your genealogy. I'm quite sure because you so fly, you probably from Louisiana too. You probably
I know my people from Louisiana.
Okay, you see, look at that, Ken.
Monroe.
See, look at that. I already knew. I said his ass so fly, his ass probably from Louisiana.
Yeah, that's where my grandparents from, and then my father's people, they from Arkansas.
Bruh, look at that. See, I already knew that, bro. I already knew that. So one of the big things that was mentioned in this segment of the film was the Louisiana Purchase.
Yes, sir.
Why did they say the Louisiana Purchase, that transaction? What was the main reason that Thomas Jefferson wanted that deal to be done?
Was that to give the artisans land?
There you go.
They could build for themselves.
There you go.
Not have to work for anybody.
There you go. So they were trying to create entrepreneurs with the white folks with the Louisiana Purchase,
which they took from the so-called natives.
Exactly. Okay. So that is very important. But there was discussion with Madison and those guys. They were like, nah, bruh, that shit ain't gonna work because that industrial age is coming, bruh. And that goddamn agricultural thing ain't gonna keep on popping. Because you did have some of the white folks who were trying to abolish slavery, not like they were really our goddamn friends, but they were just saying there's a better way of oppressing their goddamn ass. We got to do it a little bit better and nicer than that, which they, of course, did come up with. So the next segment of the film, we get to 1865. So now we're dealing with the end of the Civil War. But I thought what was very interesting, Dale Carnegie, all of them had the ability to do what as related to war?
Pay their way out.
Exactly.
Pay their way out.
Their way out of war, brother.
And my said, we got too much intellect to be fighting a goddamn war. We just gonna go pull one of these goddamn Irish out of the coal mines, and we gonna put their punk ass on the front line.
For $300.
Hey, that's the game.
$300 buy you right out of the war, man.
If there is not anything that a person picks up from this film, if they're white, so-called white, they should pick that up. Cause they let you know, bro, you ain't got no value, not in our eyes. We just gonna create the illusion that you got value.
And that still goes on today, man. Most of these people running for office and all that, man, them and their children don't usually serve. You got a very rare few that do, but those ones, the higher up ones.
And even if they do serve, they got politics within the various branches. They ain't gonna do nothing, but they ain't never gonna be on no goddamn front line.
They don't go to the front line unless they actually want to. And they go to a limited point just to get some brownie points. They may go drop a bomb, get some ribbons, and all of that. And even when the draft came during Vietnam, the same way they did this year with the payout, they looked at the dynamics, and they actually went in there and created the articles in which to now, if you in college for this amount of time, you don't have to go, period. To Vietnam. So they knew who was going to school.
Exactly.
They knew who was going. So they created actually that law to allow them to skip the draft, when it was mandatory for you to go.
Exactly. And so now we get into the section that Naru started off his summation with about the Irish. And, we got to be very clear about this because there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation that's put out there. Like the Irish were slaves. They were never slaves. They were indentured servants. And so, yes, backbreaking work, but the reason that most of them can still call themselves O'Rourke, O'Reilly, or whatever name is because they were never stripped of their culture. Exactly. They were never stripped of which includes their names, their religions, their family structure. They were never sold back and forth like motherfucking movable real estate like we were. That's right. So, but their oppression did happen. And so we got into that. And so I thought it was very interesting. This is a very important segment because I've even heard Negroes try to say that the Irish were slaves in this country, and they never were.
No slaves.
Hey, I found out that the word paddy wagon came from them too. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That was an interesting part. Like, oh, that's where paddy wagon came from.
Yeah. I thought that was very interesting because paddy is a slang term, nickname for
Patrick. Right.
Because they were viewed to be criminals and they were always going to goddamn jail, and the wagon would pick up their ass to take them to jail. It became known as the paddy wagon. So you're right on point with that, Brother Naru. In this section, man, let me tell you something. I'm gonna read this because this quote, this quote says it all. You are made to hate each other because of that hatred, because upon that hatred is rested the keystone of the arc of financial despotism, which enslaves you both. I'm gonna read that again, and I want to get y'all's thoughts on that. You are made to hate each other because upon that hatred is rested the keystone of the arc of financial despotism, which enslaves you both. Tell me about that. What's y'all's thoughts?
Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
That's the thing that kind of stands out on that for me, because when you look at despotism, you know, in that word in and of itself, I mean, that speaks volumes to the statement itself, you know. And they talk about the arc, you know, the way to get from one side, you know, to the height and all the way to the other side. I mean, I mean, divide and conquer, you know. And hey, if I can uh, gather some people and that I need for my needs and put them against each other and have them squabbling and not thinking about, hey, all the time they're working for me, you know, and that they need me, you know, and get that control of one faction over the other to keep that guidance. I got it going on. I'm making money.
Okay, Brother Naru.
I mean, a part of it to me is like if we keep you two factions warring with each other, you're gonna see each other as an enemy and not see your common enemy. You're not gonna look further than what's right in front of you, because your immediacy is I hate, you know, building that hate up. And hate is a powerful thing. It clouds your mind, clouds your spirit, clouds your soul, and it doesn't allow you to grow. So when you got that hate festering all the time, that's what you think about all the time. I hate that mama. I hate that mama. You're not thinking about anything else outside of that. So you're not thinking about building. You're not thinking about doing for yourself. You're not thinking about growing. All you're thinking about is somebody that you think is coming to do something against you. So that's a part I took away from that statement.
Okay.
As it goes with the putting each other against each other, so you can never rise up.
True. And both of you are correct, but I want you all to do some research on that term, despotism.
Despotism, okay.
It means the exercise of absolute power, especially in a cruel and oppressive way. So when he puts the adjective on it, financial despotism, we're now talking capitalism as an absolute power, capitalist, plutocrats as an absolute power in a cruel and oppressive way. And it also says a country or political system where the ruler holds absolute power. Now, the United States is a stepchild or child, if you will, of European colonialism. And perceptively, they were running away from that to establish this democracy, which is all bullshit. They didn't want to be under the rulership of a monarch, a king. So what did they do? I mean, this shit is clever. What they did, Brother Naru and Brother Ken, I got to give it to these white folks. This shit cold. They say, fuck one king and one queen. We gonna have families. Not one, but families running this shit. And ain't none of these people, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Vanderbilts, like, y'all think it's just by chance that Anderson Cooper, why does he go by the name Anderson Cooper on CNN? Y'all do know who he really is, right?
Yeah, I know he's a Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Exactly. Ain't nobody gonna touch him. Okay? This is the game that's played. Families instead of just a one ruling monarch family. And so the families create the plutocracy. That's what this is, the game. The Donald Trump ain't no goddamn family plutocrat. He wants to become that, but he ain't that. And that's why now the plutocrats said, okay, Donald, we've used you for your purpose. go sit your punk ass down. Because we've achieved what we needed to achieve. Now go sit your ass down, because you are not calling no shots. But that quote was by Tom Watson, and he was a populist leader in America in the 19th century. As we bring this thing to a close, I want to make sure that we focus on something that the African-American brother pointed out. We really need to study the period, those 11 years from 1866 to 1877, known as Reconstruction.
Yeah.
We really need to research, study, and analyze this, because if you don't, again, study the foundation of how this thing was created, you know, you're gonna come up with all kind of lofty and idealistic thoughts that ain't never gonna happen, because there was a lot of shit that was going on for the good of our people from 1866 to 1877. But a good point that the brother brought out, he said that Northern industrialists were inconsistent allies of African people. And because, and my thing is, they weren't inconsistent, they were just illusionary allies. They just created the illusion of being an ally to begin with. They never were an ally.
That's right.
You see? So, but they and that's why we got to get this shit very clear about Lincoln. If Negroes keep on believing that Lincoln actually freed them, we won't never break the shackle of white supremacy in our minds. Lincoln and the Northern plutocrats, their only focus was preserving the central union that had been created after 1787. That was their whole focus. So that's why when this past Thursday, I went over those two terms, the divine right of kings and manifest destiny. Because in the divine right of kings, they're letting it be known, we ain't gotta be ethical and moral to your ass. We make the rules. So we can lie to you, we can bullshit you. And so if you're only viewing them through your lenses, there's no way that you'll ever be able to figure this shit out. So we got to get this shit clear as it relates to that. The brother then gets into the black codes. For damn sure, Tamani and I are going to do a show on the goddamn black codes. We're also going to do multiple shows on Reconstruction. But when we get into the black codes, now we get into the book and the documentary, Slavery by Another Name. We've gone over that film, Brother Ken, in the past, so you can go and check that out in the archive section of the BGN website in Basecamp. But black codes allow for the convict leasing program to exist, so he talks about that. And then he talked about the Redeemers. This was a group of Democrats that wanted to make sure Negroes weren't going to get any equity in this game. And they made sure, so that's something else we need to research. Go back and pay particular attention to some of the names that were used, the Rockefellers, the Guggenheims, the Morgans, the Vanderbilts. We need to study those entities, and what we need to know is how they came about and what their industries were. And a lot of this was formed early on in the process. And they were very meticulous as to how they went about doing what they did. He then hit on, of course, Jim Crow segregation, which went from 1877, 78 up until 1964, technically 64, but it continued up until the early 70s. That's why when we talk about pseudo-integration, yeah, we can say technically civil rights, 1964, but it took them about 10 years to put the bullshit game that they have in play. So that's something that we need to focus on. I'm going to also study the massacre at Wounded Knee because he referenced that in a big way. The other point that he referenced was the fact that capitalism mandates family labor. So if you got a female sitting on her ass believing that she ain't supposed to work, they don't even understand, because if you go back, the husband, the wife, and the child, and brother Naru, you referenced to that because that's what the old guy was talking about, how they worked their ass so hard, they had to sit in a chair, didn't have no cushion. So one of the things that I figured out about our people, because they do not do research and study, and they won't take the time to look at a documentary like this, a lot of our people really believe that the majority of white folks really got it going on.
Yes, sir.
They really do. They really don't know that the majority of white folks broke. I mean, most black folks really believe that white folks got a lot of assets. They don't. They got a little bit more than you, because they have the plutocrats have to sell them on the illusion that they are part of the team, and they ain't a part of the team.
That's right.
So the father, the mother, and the children had to work in order to leverage some form of economic stability, let alone economic independence in America. And you're not going to get economic independence in America unless you're willing to structure corporations, period. They got into the discussion of the term political machine. So just like any technician, no matter what your industry is, like the show, what's the guy who does the Kung Fu? They have a show called, he has a movie, they don't call it The Hitman, but it's like The Machinist or something like that.
The mechanic?
The mechanic.
Mechanic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the mechanic is a tactician, technician, machinist in his endeavor. So they wanted to connect that to politics at the local, state, and federal level. And bruh, when you get into that section there, bruh, this is the section, Brother Naru, when I talk to people about it, they be like, man, that shit don't happen. Like, you just making shit up.
Yeah.
I mean, like, man, if y'all understood how this shit work, this thing is just so complex with the judges, the police, the sheriff, the marshal, the tax assessor. If you don't know how to think, ain't no way you're gonna figure this out. And so the plutocrats use this very convoluted, complex system of perceived ethical standards and policies to keep the majority of people in check while they do gangster shit behind the scenes.
So Brother Craig, I gotta ask. So to me, then that makes the premise of white supremacy almost a moot point, because it's more about white supremacy than white supremacy. If you're saying that the majority of the white people are broke, is it really white supremacy then that we're battling? And maybe that's something that they put out as well to fool us. And it's more we're battling these plutocrats, and they're making us even battle just like back in the day from the film. We're battling white folks who are broke too. So wouldn't we be smarter to connect with them on certain levels? And I'm not saying on every level, it's definitely not on the spiritual level, because that's probably not going to happen. But it seems like these youth today are coming together a little better than we were. They connect in a different way. So,
so
that's something I've been thinking about as watching the film. Like, well, damn, maybe it's not real because they don't give a fuck if you're white, black, green. They don't give a fuck about nobody.
No, they don't.
Hey, Naru, that's a great question. And so here's the answer. You're correct, but also it still is about white supremacy, because the might that you're talking about are the Anglo-Saxon individuals.
No doubt.
So here's the thing. As long as white folks are on this planet, and Bob Marley said this in his song War, until the philosophy which hold one race superior and another is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, there's a war. Now, let's stop right there. White folks will never tell the truth that they are inferior. White folks can never admit that, because to admit that, they would have to then also admit something else. In our superiority, and we don't promote it, but in our genetic superiority, if special considerations were not made to isolate them, they would be wiped off the planet. You understand what I'm saying? So the architects, the engineers, and the managers of those Anglo people, they understand and recognize this, but they're not going to admit it. So they have to come up with a plan to keep everybody at bay. Now, to your point, I agree with you, and that's why my political philosophy, which I call culturalism, says this, and you'll see my symbol with the black hand, the melanated hand connected with the red hand, connected with the brown hand, connected with the yellow, connected with the white, connected with the green, connected with the purple. So here's my philosophy, and in the middle, you got the peace symbol with the red, white, green, and black. And so here's what my philosophy is. Every ethnic group, and I speak for grassroots people, every grassroots ethnic group must have a seat at the table. We must have a seat at the table. So I'm saying that and that will only happen when grassroots black folks connect with grassroots natives, connect with grassroots Latinos, grassroots Middle Eastern, Asian, and grassroots Anglo-Caucasian around four things: freedom, liberty, that's pretty much connected, justice, empowerment, equity. Until then, you ain't gonna never get no peace. Yeah. But when those grassroots people can connect on those levels, and now you bring, by way of the green hand, the youth in, and now by way of the purple hand, you bring the elders in. Now, then and only then will you be able to get peace. But I definitely agree with you that those entities who are at the top, the macro plutocrats, the macro oligarchs, and the macro aristocrats, see, they're all Caucasian.
European, yeah, Caucasian.
But underneath the macro umbrella, Brother Naru, they got micro plutocrats, micro oligarchs, and micro aristocrats in each ethnic group.
Without a doubt, without a doubt.
And that's why you gotta know the difference between the 6 factions. Now, y'all notice in the film, they talked about factions, right?
Factions.
Shit, yeah. I don't just come out of my ass with this shit.
Yeah, that was one of the prime concerns.
That's one of the prime concerns.
Yeah, when they're laying out the Constitution.
So you got to goddamn know that there are only two factions of African descendants who are Black. Grassroots Blacks and melanated grassroots Blacks and melanated grassroots hybrids. The other four factions are not Black, but they're melanated. Bourgeoisie, pseudo-bourgeoisie, melanated grassroots Negroes, and the melanated Negro savage. If you don't know that, and that goes in each ethnic group, if you don't know that, the macro plutocrats will always deceive you. Because they're going to come for you with people who look like you to now fuck you up. And then we've already discussed why that is, because by not having spirituality and right culture, your self-preservation, which is natural, is going to be rooted strictly on I, my, me versus us, I, we. So I agree with you 100%, brother. What you said is the impetus of this whole film. And it will be the impetus of the next 4 episodes of the film.
Yeah, I got to go see him.
Okay? Because brother, even when the white folks unionized, they had plants in the organization. Okay? And then Ken has been a part of a union. Now, I've never been a part of a union, but I deal with unions, okay? So, but although the unions have gotten sidetracked, and we know who ended up controlling a lot of the major unions, the mafia, okay? So from that overall standpoint, this is how this thing is broken down. But quickly, they talked about the Knights of Labor. That's a union that we need to look at. We need to research and study that. But all of this, the Knights of Labor were doing a good job. They wanted to bring in Black laborers and whites, but guess what? The shit didn't work. Because why? At the local level, you're always gonna have racism. And that's the point that I just made to you, brother Naru. Sure. Because we can't regulate and legislate morality and ethics. Right. So the average so-called Anglo white person, they really believe that they are connected to Donald Trump, George Bush. They believe that these people are their friends. Donald Trump don't give a goddamn about they punk ass. But because they are of the same hue, you know, which they ain't got no hue, but they really believe that they are akin to one another, and they are not. And so that's why I said you cannot build a house from the roof down. You can't build a commercial structure from the roof down. I've discussed this with Brother Tamani. I discussed this with Brother Ken. I discussed this with everybody. This is the mistake that Malcolm made. This is the mistake that Garvey made. This is the mistake that King made. And the Knights of Labor made the same goddamn mistake. Because they were trying to mobilize millions of people, and they didn't have the infrastructure to do that. You have to mobilize cities, counties, parishes, states first. And then you link up, because now you got the infrastructure in place. But because the need is so great, people try to run a goddamn 5,000-mile race like they're goddamn Usain Bolt running 100. And you can't never do it, brother. You'll never win. And so finally, we need to look at that insurrection of 1877. They close out still with more great information, but that insurrection of 1877, this thing has been about labor war. Labor war is the #1 thing of capitalism, and that's to your point, Brother Naru. But inside of the labor war, they have other battles going on, gender battles, racial battles, social battles, age battles. You see what I'm saying? So now if you can't see the bigger picture, you get caught up into becoming what? A feminist. You get caught up in becoming an ageist. So now you got intergenerational conflict. Now, all of this chaos benefits one group. And what group is that?
You got the plutocrats, baby.
That's the goddamn plutocrats.
And they throw more than that at us too, man. It's so much. The entertainment, you know.
Oh, yes.
Love the sports, the music.
Hey, bro. 24/7. Now you got coronavirus.
Yep.
Now you got
Black Lives Matter.
Bruh.
Everything, bro. It's
they
a
don't
cold
stop.
game. It's a cold game.
It's a cold game.
Yeah,
and so
I shared with Craig real quick. I shared with Craig a while back. Like you said, I was in a union. I was even a steward at one point, and when they had the sister who was a steward in my shop after I long left that post, she was a black sister, and she had a clear cut of racism against the plant itself, and the union found a way to buffalo her out of there, and they used 4 key melanated folks who could have just said, "This ain't right," and it would have awed everybody. They factioned them out, said, "We're gonna butter your bread, make labor easier on you," and they came in. They put a rope-a-dope vote up, got this sister out. They put a white racist in there. The state had come involved. They sent an investigator up here. Well, I found out they fired the investigator at the state level. They put so much money into this thing. Wow. Okay, and I stood up in the union meeting actually before the sister got voted out, and she was fighting this racism case because they had the whites over there sitting back, and they had Negroes over there under a computerized system, working our butts off, right? Okay, and I stood up and I told them, I said, "Y'all will never have a damn thing because you got 2 unions." I stood up in a full session of union body, and I didn't bite my tongue.
That's right.
And bro, from that day to the day, I actually got hurt years later, and that part of that was part of that system too. But man, they looked at me like they had already called me Malcolm on the job. They really did. They called me Malcolm for years. The females would do it, but Negroes, he's stealing our thunder, all that kind of mess. It wasn't about that. It was about that. And I didn't go out there and martyr myself either. You know what I mean? I did when it came to my doorstep, that's when I said something, and I was one of the few that stood up for themselves, man. It was a travesty, man. It really was. But they ostracized and kicked out this black female and put a white racist in her place. And the union did that.
Hey, bro, this thing, and I will give a salute to even those white racist groups who attempted to unionize and fight the plutocrats, because they helped move the ball forward, brother Ken, brother Naru, in the game. So you can clearly see where we're going within this. And the more information that we get like this that's contained in Plutocracy, will then, with an enlightened mind that is rooted in spirituality and right culture, will begin to piece together these complex jigsaw puzzle pieces in order to get a full view of this puzzle that has been presented to us in all kinds of different aspects. And so I want you all to make sure we look at this again. I can tell you now we're going to go to the next deal is going to be Plutocracy 2. I'm going to go back over one a couple more times because like Ken and I said, I mean, we've had it for years. We've looked at it, but it's like every damn time it's like something new that we find as we move through this. Y'all have any questions before we close out?
No, brother, I feel like you did a great job
Good
today,
go.
breaking it down. And of course, there's so much more that we
exactly.
Sure. We could be here for hours and continue.
Because Naru, this is, and it dawned on me. I said, okay, I've hit on the various movies, and we'll still deal with some movies. But I said, you know, it's time that our people in BGN really see the real deal shit.
Yeah, no doubt.
And this is the real deal shit here. I mean, with historical documentation so that you can get and piece this thing really together. And I had to straighten a young brother out this morning in Shreveport. He put some bad information on Facebook, and I've tried to indirectly mentor him, but I have to leave him alone. But I put him in check this morning because he made put some bad information out. And he said, and I'm gonna read you this, and this is our closeout. This just show you where our people are at, man. I mean, our people are real confused. And he made a post that was about, this was the first thing. He said, this is not a debate. And I get sick and tired of these Negroes trying to take a word and now make up their own goddamn word. And they're contributing to the perpetuation of ignorance of our people. So he said debate, D-E-B-A-I-T, and then in parentheses, debate, D-E-B-A-T-E. I mean, this kind of bullshit that's going on with these folks. And so he says, in order for melanin people to get ahead, we need to invest in these four things. Our own hospitals to heal our people. Now he's talking about melanin people, and you're gonna see where the issue comes. Now he don't do shit in Shreveport, but talk shit. Our own banks to fund our people, our own stores to feed our people, our own schools to educate our people. That shit sounds good, all right? And he keeps on talking, and then he gets into UCC, all this more shit. They don't know what the hell he's talking about. And but here's where I got him. Listen to this, man. He says, we don't have not one holiday meant for us.
Wow.
Black Friday is corporate America's biggest profit, but why? Here's the reason. So he gets into, in 1865, he talks about the end of the Civil War, and then he talks about Lincoln killing, but then he fucks up and says, December the 6th, 1865, the 13th Amendment was passed. And then he goes in all these historical points of 1865, and then he sums all that up. So here's what I do. I try to be nice to him at first. I said, I guess you forgot about Kwanzaa, Brother B. Listen to this shit, Brother Naru. Listen to this. That's African. I don't identify as such.
Whoa.
Right here in America, we want to attach ourselves to that culture and not who a lot of us are. So I respond.
Wow.
Now I gotta get him because this dude always comes up and tries to, Brother Craig, don't do shit in Shreveport now. I'm gonna read this to you as we close out. So this gets into where plutocracy has fucked these people up. So I say, brother B, just because you don't identify does not mean that it is okay to spread false information. You got to learn to be wiser than that, Brother B. It is so unfortunate that a growing percentage of melanated people who are accessing information are not understanding and comprehending the complex dynamics of the information that they are reading. But I digress. I just wanted to bring your attention to that misinformation. So I said, additionally, the 13th Amendment was passed on January the 31st, 1865. It was ratified on December the 6th, 1865. So now he gets into me talking about Kwanzaa. He says, Black professor in 1966. He don't name Maulana Karanga. He just said Black.
You don't even know his name.
Yeah. So he went to pull that shit up because he don't celebrate. Who identifies as such, created that through riots. Kwanzaa wasn't created through no goddamn riot, but that's the shit. So I said, by the way, your belief in individualistic identity politics undermines your entire post because your post is predicated on umoja, unity, which can and will only happen with spirituality and right culture. Individualism is not reflective of spirituality and right culture. Regardless of what you believe that you are as an individual, whether that be Moor, Hebrew, Israelite, indigenous, Nawubian, Washita, NOI, or any of these individualistic melanated factions who are helping our oppressors in their quest to keep melanated people miseducated, misinformed, misled, and misguided. The premise of your post cannot and will not be achieved without the 6 pillars of empowerment: spirituality, right culture, education, economics, socioeconomics, and politics, and the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa: umoja, unity; kujichagulia, self-determination; ujima, collective work responsibility; ujamaa, cooperative economics; nia, purpose; kuumba, creativity; amani, faith, period. So look, due to the fact that he can't go no deeper, he says, you have your understanding and I have mine. and we can agree to disagree. Listen to this foolishness. This Negro wears cornrows in his head with Venus and Serena Williams beads on the goddamn end. Listen to this. I will run for office in a few years and won't have any of that and still get in.
Wow.
He ain't even aesthetically appealing to the average voter, and the average voter, melanated voter, identifies themselves with being African. So look, I say, it is so unfortunate that your exoteric understanding of this very basic and irrefutable information has been influenced by individuals who don't have a clue nor track record on how to empower melanated people. And I'm talking about the bullshit people like Tariq Bey and all these other stupid ass people who are out here bullshitting these folks with information that they are white and not African. It's the craziest shit I've ever seen. So I say, running for public office and even winning the election will not change the truth that I'm speaking to you. Elder wisdom means a lot more than you understand and are willing to accept, but I digress. You have committed yourself to core beliefs that are completely flawed and incorrect, and your cognitive dissonance will not allow you to learn and embrace truth. And on that note, I agree with you. Disagreement is the only reality that exists. Therefore, I yield to you and your editorial politics, for this is your page, and I respect that. And I left that shit where it was at.
Leave it in the dirt.
Because, and this is why I'm telling you all, BGN is so goddamn important. And what we're doing in Shreveport and what you're doing in Oakland, Brother Naru, is so goddamn important. Because you have people out here who are being misled by folks who don't want to have to pay no goddamn taxes, who want every fucking thing free. They want to claim to be fucking Cherokee. They want to claim to be motherfucking Choctaw and every fucking thing else. But they don't want shit to do with Africa.
That's right.
Good riddance, nigga.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, we don't want your punk ass, and we don't need your punk ass, because you don't do any work any goddamn way. And now that you've read a couple of books by people who are spreading misinformation and falsehood, you be like, oh, yeah, my grandmama. A chick told me last week that I ain't African, I'm Cherokee. So I asked her, I said, sister, what genealogy research have you done to prove that? Don't worry about it. No, you just said you Cherokee.
Her grandmama, man.
My grandmama told me, your grandmama don't know a goddamn thing. Because I said, sister, if you go back just 10 generations from the date of your birth on your maternal and your paternal side, this is just basic math. Starting with 2 and multiplying by 2 each generation, it took 2,046 people going back 200 years just to bring you into existence. 1,023 on your maternal side, 1,023 on your paternal side. And guess what, goddammit? You might know 4 of them. You might know 4 of them. And if you go back 400 years, Brother Naru, it took over 2 million goddamn people coming together to bring your disrespectful punk ass into existence on your life day. And you know goddamn well, you don't even know 5 of them. And some of you mammies done lied to your punk ass anyway, because your daddy ain't who the fuck they say he is anyway.
Come on.
But you want to claim to be goddamn Cherokee and everything, and you want to disrespect Africa. It's the craziest shit in the goddamn world. So we ain't trying to make no friends with anybody who will disrespect the continent or disrespect the work of great Black folks, because they want to fit in and try to get a goddamn check and not pay no goddamn taxes. And these Native American folks saying, get y'all punk ass out of our tribe.
We don't even want you.
We
don't even want you.
So now you got to create some shit talking about we the original Cherokee. We the original. They lying. Okay, well, prove that shit then. Where your language at? Where your goddamn culture at? This is where we at, brother. And plutocrats are promoting all of this bullshit.
Yeah, that's real.
So with that, man,
they want to even ignore the fact that the scientists have already told them the oldest known DNA is Black, man.
It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Come on,
it originates with us.
It's crazy, bro. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But this is what we got going on. Yeah. And if it were not for Facebook, for me to be able to see these types of conversations, bro, I wouldn't even know these type of crazy ass people. And me and Ken, we go back and forth, doing analysis and case analysis. But Naru, I didn't know that our people were so fucked up. I'm gonna be honest with you. Until about
I knew.
Until about they take this shit to a level, bruh.
bro.
They ain't got no
Hey,
proof.
hey, I taught in the private school, so I met some black folks you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe their mentality, bro.
Damn.
Oh, now, on another note, brother, I sent you my Kwanzaa song. I hope you got it. Did you get it?
You sent it to my phone?
I sent it to your phone a while back, and it's on the
I'm gonna play it today.
It's on Basecamp. Me and
Okay,
my
I'm
daughter
gonna play it
did
when I get
about
in the
10
car.
years ago. I want you to listen to it.
I want to listen to it. Hey, bro, and Naru, I don't know who makes your damn African attire.
Oh, I get it from different places. You know, we got the flea market down here in Berkeley, so we got the African straight from the motherland right there, bro.
Hey,
I go get my stuff right from
Hey,
there.
bro, I got to come get, bro. That outfit you got on your album cover, bro. That's G, bro.
Hey, brother, that's about 20 years old.
Woo!
I've had that about 20 years.
Right.
I don't wear it often, but
that's royalty there, bro.
Oh yeah, I know.
That's royalty there, bro. Yeah, you gotta hook me up with some of your folks.
I need some of Brother Naru's links, because I didn't know you were doing music and everything.
Yeah, you and Ken got to get together. Ken,
who produced?
All three of us do music, but Ken is my point person.
Mm-hmm.
I use a lot of different producers. I produce my own stuff, but I use a lot of different producers. My daughter's an audio engineer. Now she's 16. I got her an audio engineer.
Come on, because you got a producer right here, bro.
Oh yeah, you do it too.
I need to get with you.
It's a done deal. You on Basecamp, right?
Say again.
Are you on Basecamp?
Ken?
No. I need to get.
I'm gonna send you a link to Basecamp.
Yeah, you got to get on Basecamp.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to maneuver with them. But I'm gonna listen to that today on the way to the go meet with Brother Lloyd right now. I'm gonna shower and go knock this out. But man, I want to thank you guys for coming in. This has been great. And Tamani and everybody will be able to check out the recording. And as always, what does Tamani say? One person can't do every goddamn thing, but some of us combined can do everything the goddamn together. Whatever the hell he say.
He does say that, and it's not what he says. Not no one more important than the Black Gold Nation. Not you, not your mama, not you.
Okay.
Hey, he doing so cold. Can't nobody do it justice. Ain't nobody do it justice.
But I want to thank you guys.